What happens when a leaf becomes more than a leaf? When it carries culture, controversy, and someone's future.
It's like vegetable, but it gives you a little bit buzz. But if you get addicted to that buzz every day, then detox.
wuu baabi'inayaa qaadku community-ka Soomaalida wuu baabi'inayaa sababtoo qaadku ma aha nin geed keligiisa baxa.
Some stories keep calling you back, not because they are unfinished, but because as a journalist, you have a responsibility to keep telling them and to tell them right. Welcome to my journalism toolkit. I'm Jamal Osman. Each week, I reflect on stories I have reported over the years. This story from back in 2013 took me from a Somali cafe in London to the red soil of Meru in Kenya. And all because of a plant, a leaf, small, green. But its reach, immense. It touches every Somali family, every gathering, every memory of home. They call it Khat, Chat, or Miraa. For centuries, it's been part of daily life in the Horn of Africa. A stimulant, a social glue, a sacred routine, but in the West, it was viewed with suspicion, dismissed, outlawed. And in 2013, the UK was debating whether to do just that. This is the story of how a leaf became a lightning rod for politics, for culture, for survival. I still remember stepping into a Somali cafe, warm, light, the smoky swirl of cigarettes, men huddled in groups, leaning into stories, and beside them, plastic bags filled with khat. Some chewed slowly, some already swept away in the leaf's quiet current, eyes sharp, fingers twitching, laughter rising and falling like waves. Most of them were in a kind of dreamland. At the time, khat was still legal in the UK, but not for long. The then Home Secretary, Theresa May, had made it clear a ban was coming, and she was going ahead with it, despite expert advice warning against it. The Advisory Council on the Misuse of Drugs had said khat posed little harm. For many in the Somali community, this felt like cultural erasure. But to others, like Abukar Awale, it was long overdue. He saw the damage up close, families broken, mental health strained, lives lost to the daily chew.
It takes split seconds someone to stab you or to punch you in the face because there's so much anger building inside of these youngsters. They feel rejected, they feel isolated.
But the story didn't end there. It reached far beyond Britain. I flew to Meru, Kenya, a land generous with sunlight and soil. There, they call it Miraa. And it's more than just a tradition. It's livelihood. That morning, I watched as bundles were harvested, the leaves still cool with morning mist. By evening, they would be boxed and flown out. By lunchtime the next day, they would hit shop shelves in London. Khat has a narrow window. Its strength fades within 72 hours. That urgency fuels a network of farmers, brokers, drivers, pilots. One farmer, Elijah, welcomed me into his field. Sun-scorched and soft-spoken. He couldn't read or write, but Miraa had paid for his children's school fees. One had become a doctor in Russia, but his youngest, they might not get that chance. The British ban casted a long shadow over Meru.
We will all suffer because that is where we get everything. We will really not go to school, and through not going to school, we are going to be illiterate people.
In churches and fields, the community prayed, not just hopefully, but with a raw kind of desperation. Even children too young to grasp global economics clasped hands and whispered upward.
In fact, almost every man and woman and children, even children who could not understand what the news was all about, they were all shocked. I think in that day, some people spent a night fasting and praying for it, that it does not happen.
And not everyone was content to leave it to faith. Some traders, fearing their lifeline was being severed, warned of action.
We can riot and force the government to accept, since it is our lifeline, because if we accept it to be banned, it means that we are all accepting to die. So we better die on fighting than waiting to die after our lifeline is being interfered with.
Back in London, the battle moved from street corners to committee rooms.
At the moment, Khat is segregating Somalis from wider society, mental and health-wise. There are Khat-related deaths, liver failures, mental illnesses. I think it's about time.
Well, I would respectfully disagree with that. The Home Affairs Select Committee, which looked into this whole thing very objectively and with a cool head, we saw the advice that was given by the Advisory Council on Misuse of Drugs. They said definitively that Khat does not cause any medical or social harm itself.
Two voices, both grounded in conviction, but whose truth ends up written into law. In the end, the ban passed. The final bundles were flown into Heathrow, and slowly, the chewing circles, once alive with songs, debates, sorrows and joy, began to fade. But the reverberations lingered.
Why you will ban something my father, his father, and his father done it, and they never had problem with it.
This story still travels with me, not because of the plant itself, but because of what it carried. The tension between tradition and assimilation, between public health and personal liberty, between one community's salvation and another's despair. Sometimes, journalism isn't about chasing conclusions. It's about listening closely, quietly, to the people on every side of the story, every side of the leaf. To hear more stories like this, join me on Substack. This is my journalism toolkit. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.